Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Communication 304, which with me this semester will be a study of the internet and romantic relationships. You might wonder to yourself how we're going to fill a whole class with just that. And I'm about to show you. My name is Brandon. And before I go too much farther, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. We can take a look at the syllabus. I'm going to recommend that while you watch this video, perhaps have a version of the syllabus pulled up in another window that you can look at or make reference to it. But I will be referencing it and we'll be able to move right along. We'll see how this works. Okay, there we are. So let me see if I can make that just a little bit bigger for you. As I mentioned, my name is Dr. Brandon Vanderheide. My name, you can call me Brandon. I actually prefer if you just called me Brandon. If many of you, I think, have had some sort of class with me at some point before, whether it was Communication 225 or Communication 425, it'd probably be the big places you could run into me before. But I'm going to teach this course a little bit differently than I've taught Communication 304 before. I've taught Communication on the Internet, but because this is a special topics, not just, well, a special topics in interpersonal communication, not just a communication special topics class, I want to focus a little bit more on communication and romantic relationships as mediated by the internet. It just so happens that I have a book that will be coming out very shortly, which you have an advanced copy available to you in PDF that we'll be using for a text. And I didn't feel good about charging you anything for that because, well, I wrote it along with my colleague Stephanie Tong. So for that reason, that's going to be available to you on D2L. If you have trouble viewing that file on D2L, even if it's just not convenient and you want to be able to put it on some sort of reading app and D2L doesn't let you do that, just let me know. I'm happy to work with you to find a better way to do that, including sending you the PDF. Probably the best way to, typically what's going to happen is we're going to meet on Mondays and Wednesdays from 10:20 to 11:40. And during that time, we will mostly be meeting in Communication Arts and Sciences 165. I think, as I mentioned in my introductory email, of course, for the first 3 weeks, we're going to be online. And while I very much understand and agree with the reasons for us having to do that, I'm bummed. I would rather see all of you in person, but I don't have much of a choice in this matter, or any choice whatsoever. And so for that reason, we're going to begin online. And for the first 3 weeks, we'll meet using my private Zoom room. A link to that Zoom room is available to you on D2L. And also I sent that out via email this past week. So ultimately, the goal of the course is for you to be able to understand things about and understand the science behind the way we learn things about communication and close personal relationships when it happens online. I have never been able to teach a course like this where I have so much knowledge of the actual text. So I'm really excited about it, to be really honest with you. I feel like, most of the stuff I teach, I don't know that much about. I'm teasing. I know quite a bit about it, but never like this. This is at a whole new level, and that could be great for you. It also could drive you a little nuts. And so I will probably be picky about the way we talk about research findings, and I want to give you that sort of as a warning. as we go forward. I not only do I know this stuff pretty well, I've done a lot of the research that we're going to talk about in this, not all, not even most, but some. So the format of this course is primarily going to be, we do readings and then we discuss those readings in class. And there'll be, the potential for some guided class discussions that we have both virtually and in person, potentially some activities that are a part of class. And for that reason, I just want to point out, it's really important that you come to class. They say this about your work lives too. When you graduate, showing up is 90% of the job. I think that's a little bit of an overstatement, but I do think it's really important that you come. If you know ahead of time that attendance is not your strong suit, I'm going to encourage you that this class is not mandatory. You probably don't need to take this course for your major, although you might be sliding it in as an elective of some sort. I will strongly encourage you that if you can't make it to class on the reg, I would choose a different class. Coming to class is really important. It's also going to be really important that you do the readings. And I will know if you don't. I will know pretty clearly. And I don't say that to scare you. I don't think the readings are long. It's about one chapter of a book a week. And I think I hope that you'll actually enjoy the reading. Some of the reading can be a bit tough. The book is aimed at an audience that is, it's meant to include you, but it's also meant to include graduate students and faculty members, right? It's meant to introduce you to a broader group of scholars and invite you to become a part of them. So it's really important that you do the readings. It's really important that you come to class and you're ready to come and discuss those readings, even if that discussion of the readings is, I don't get it. The authors were super wordy and I didn't like this part, right? That's totally fine. That doesn't bother me at all. We can talk about that. But not coming to class and not doing the readings is going to result in you really not getting the experience you're paying for. Each week, there will be some reading and lecture responses that you'll also be required to do on D2L. I'm not going to go through the details of those reading and lecture responses right now, other than to note that it's right here in the syllabus. It's also posted in the main discussion forum on D2L. So if you go to D2L, which you should be able to see on my screen, you click on communication and you go down to discussions. In that discussion tabs, you're going to see this weekly reading posts list. And I've got the first few discussion forums. So if it's for week 2, and you'll note we don't actually have a discussion post due this week. We'll start with that next week. But if you go to the week 2 discussion posts and go down and you start a new thread, the things that are required for you in this class will be to start a new thread and to comment on one of your classmates' threads, right? That's what I'd like you to do each week. Oh, now I gotta blow that up again. And obviously, to be able to do that, you're gonna have to read what your classmates have written. Those will be due on Friday of each week, Friday at 11:59 p.m. Right. More details again about that are available in your syllabus or available on D2L itself. There'll be 2 exams for this course, and these exams will also be administered using D2L. And the exams will not be cumulative. That is, there's one exam, I think, that's in the middle of the semester right before spring break. And it's going to test you on everything up to spring break. And there's one exam at the end of the course that's going to test you on everything from spring break until that point. There are no cumulative exams. For this class, as I mentioned, attendance and participation in class is important. And if there are activities, it's important that you do them. That's going to be 20% of the total grade for you for this class. The reading lecture responses, these are primarily the D2L requirements. And then and that's 30% of your total, and exams are half of your grade. I will write these exams so that they're challenging, but certainly not impossible. And especially if you've come to class and you've done all the readings, I'm hopeful that I will be able to write an exam that you just find easy. That's my ultimate goal, and would make me really happy if I'm able to accomplish that. Occasionally, I will overdo it, and I'll write an exam that's just way too hard. And that's actually super easy for me to tell, because you guys tend not to do as well on it. There'll be very few folks who score 100%, or sometimes even nobody that scores 100%. In those cases, I do curve scores, absolutely, you know. So if you run into a really, really hard exam, you've done all the reading, you've been to class every day, don't panic. I probably just overdid it, and I'll fix it. Grade questions and concerns. You can see my policy on that. You're welcome to ask me questions about any grade you receive. And the following grading scale is available in the syllabus. I do not bump up or round up final grades. Your final grade is what your final grade is. I will curve exams. That's a different situation. But I don't round up scores. Okay. So with that said, let's move on. Oh, academic integrity. You should know what that is. You should read the Spartan Code of Conduct, Student Conduct, and plan on adhering to it. If you're found in violation of that, or I suspect you're in violation of that, you'll be turned over to the appropriate dean of students, and yeah, that's what will happen. I don't anticipate a big problem with that, but you should know that I do take it seriously. Occasionally, students, although those of you seeing this, almost none of you will be needing a course override, because you're already all in the class. So I'm not going to spend any time talking about obtaining an override. If you have a friend who's trying to get into this course, you should submit an override. They should submit an override request at override.cas.msu.edu. All students with officially documented visas from the Resource Center for Persons with Disabilities, please contact me with that information as soon as possible. I'm happy to grant every request that comes out of RCPD. I want this class to provide a fair and equal playing field for everybody. You just got to let me know about it, and I'll work with you to make sure that things are going to be okay. Okay, with that said, that's the syllabus in a nutshell. It's short. I think it's short. It's short and sweet. I want to talk about the schedule just a little bit. So this week we're going to be kind of doing some housekeeping stuff. This lecture, I'm, very much hopeful is going to be, pretty short. and just goes over the syllabus on Wednesday of this week. On Wednesday, let me look at my phone to make sure I give you the right date. On Wednesday, the 12th, January 12th at 10:20, we'll have our first live in-person meeting. And in that meeting, we'll kind of continue on. If you have questions about the syllabus, if you have questions about the format of the course, plenty opportunity there that I'd like to provide you to do that. We actually have a fairly large class. We have about 40 of us. Because we have about 40 of us, it's going to be really important that that you work to ensure that if you have questions, you're either using the chat or communicating. There'll be opportunities to interact verbally, but I understand in a larger group, that's can be somewhat more challenging. All right. Which is one of the reasons I very much look forward to being back in person so that we can have more, I guess, normal in class conversations. It should be stated, and I'll probably include a statement about this on our class. But it's really important that you know that I do take the university's requirements regarding COVID safety pretty seriously, which means until stated otherwise, we're going to be wearing masks in class. Those masks need to cover your nose and your mouth. Unless you're taking a bite of food or having a drink, you really do need to have your nose and mouth covered. The requirement of the university, the guidance I've received as a faculty member, the guidance we've all received is that we are to, give a couple warnings for non-adherence of mask wearing. But then at the end of the day, if we can't get you to do what we ask, we're supposed to cancel class. I want to ask you as a favor to me, out of whatever respect you have for me, please don't put me in that position. The last thing I want to do, actually the last thing I want to do, is to ever have to cancel class for everybody because somebody can't wear a mask appropriately. I think we can all just tough it out. Listen, masks feel super uncomfortable. They feel super uncomfortable to me too. I don't like wearing them inside. I want very badly to go back to a situation where we don't need to. We're just not quite there yet. I very much hope that we will be, and that we will be sometime soon, but we're not. So I would ask about that out of whatever respect you have for me, please don't put me in that position. And if you don't have any respect for me, that's cool. But out of whatever respect you have for your fellow Spartan students who are also going to be losing out if you don't follow these procedures, please just wear your mask appropriately. That does not mean that if I notice that you're not, I'm going to come down like a hammer super hard immediately. I will work hard not to embarrass anybody, but if it comes down to it, I am going to enforce university policy because I have to, and because I also believe that it's going to keep most of us safe. Okay, with that said, done with administrative stuff, let me talk a little bit about the course schedule. So especially for these first couple of weeks of class, these first 3 weeks of class, I think are important, and it's important that you understand sort of the rhythm of what we're going to do in this class. So on Wednesday of this week, when we meet virtually but synchronously at the Zoom link provided on the very first announcement on D2L, We're going to be talking about the very first chapter of the Tongue and Vanderhyde text. And that is a chapter that covers a number of things, but mostly sort of an introduction to the book. And it's actually pretty important that you read the introduction. I wrote it and I'm pretty fond of it. And I think it gives you a really good understanding of the way that we're going to approach some of the stuff that we're going to approach this semester. We're going to be talking about what the functional perspective on communication technology is. We're going to talk about why it's important. And so if you are reading that and have questions on it, those would be great questions to have prepared to ask. One of the best ways, I think, to prepare for a class like this one is to, as you're doing the reading, write down some questions that you have. Bring those to class. In week 2, because we meet typically on Mondays, the first Monday will be off. We will not have class on Monday the 17th. Depending on when you watch this, I can tell you I'm recording this on Monday the 10th, so a week from the day I'm recording this, but on Monday the 17th, we'll not have class. On Wednesday, again, we will be back and we will have class. It will be virtual and we'll continue our discussion. So if you don't have time to do the chapter 1 Tongue and Vanderhyde reading before Wednesday, the 12th, that's okay. Okay. But you absolutely should have it done in time for the next Wednesday's class. Also that week, we'll have our first discussion post due, and that's due on Friday. You'll be able to see that in the calendar on D2L. And that will mostly cover anything we've talked about in class or chapter 1 of your text. Then week 3, we have a full normal week with the one exception that it will be our last week virtual, at least if things go as I currently expect, which is that we'll be back in person by the 4th week. So week 3, you'll have to read chapter 2, and you can see the readings and assignments that are due for you on the syllabus. And in that week, we'll be talking about a history of online and mobile dating. And that will be what we have that week. Okay. For now, well, I guess the other thing to say would be that on week 4, if all things go to plan, we're going to be back in person. We'll be in Communication Arts and Sciences building room 165. We're going to meet at 10:20. We're all going to be masked and excited to see one another in person again, and it'll be great. Okay. I guess a few other things to know. Week 8 will be the week of your first exam. That first exam will take place on between Wednesday at midnight, March 2nd at midnight, and will close on Friday at 11:59 p.m. That means you're actually going to be able to take the exam at any point within that block. Now, the exam will be a timed exam. You won't be able to keep it open for that whole time. Usually I plan on approximately 90 seconds per question. Questions will all be multiple choice or true false options. Many of them will be the kinds of questions that require you to apply what you know, not just regurgitate what you know. It'll be important that we are staying up to date, that you're doing your readings, that things are ready, but that will happen between those times. So you'll have actually the opportunity of a couple days to choose when you do that exam, right? I anticipate the exam will likely be approximately 30 to 40 questions and will probably last 45 minutes to an hour approximately. So you'll have to set aside, somewhere figure on setting aside an hour, and it may be shorter for you, but setting aside some time during that class. I will also say that the stuff that we cover in class that Wednesday on week 8 will be on the exam. Okay, so you probably don't want to take the exam at midnight on basically Tuesday night, flips over, it's Wednesday. You haven't had the Wednesday class yet. The stuff that we have in class on Wednesday will be on the exam. Important to note that. The nice thing about having an exam at that time is that it means that when spring break rolls around the next week, on March 7th through 11th, you will have no class, you will not have an exam to study for, and you will have no weekly discussion post due. You will actually have nothing to do from me on spring break. I will have grading to do, but you're off the hook. Then we come back from spring break and we finish up the rest of the class. Exam the second exam is going to open on 4/27, which is a Wednesday again at midnight. We will again have class that day, and so the stuff that we talk about in class could potentially be covered on the exam, and that will again close on Friday at 11:59 p.m. on the 29th. And then April 29th, after April 29th, provided you've done everything in this class and kept up to date, you're done with me. And I really hope that you're sad about that, because I'm going to be sad about not having you. I love teaching undergrad courses. You guys are fun to hang out with. You have new ideas that make me think about things in ways that I've never thought about them before. And I love that. I think that's just fantastic. I'm very much looking forward to teaching this class. And I hope you're very much looking forward to hanging out for a little bit and learning a little bit about communication and romantic relationships. I will say, this is not only a course about communication and romantic relationships that are online at the beginning of those relationships. It's really a course that sort of covers the lifespan of relational issues as they're mediated by technology. So with that said, I'm going to close today, and I will end this recording and encourage you, if you have any questions, make a note of those and bring those to class on Wednesday, when I will see you in this Zoom room, and we'll hang out for the next few class periods. It's going to be a good time. Thank you guys so much, and we'll talk soon.